Hi, everybody. This is a story about the time my chemistry class visited a shopping mall run by the Three Stooges. We visited the mall because the layout of the mall is very useful for solving chemistry problems. And to get into the story, I really recommend that you draw as I tell the story and label the mall as you go along. First thing to point out is just like many shopping malls, the mall has big hallways and these anchor stores that are at the end of each of the hallways. So there's three hallways radiating out from a center courtyard. One is to the upper right, one's to the upper left, and one is to the lower left. And again, those big anchor stores are at the end. Before we start getting into the story, I should also remind you about the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges are really famous from the early part of the 20th century for slapstick comedy. And so you have the Stooges right here, reading from left to right. So the guy with no hair is Curly. The leader of the Stooges, the guy with the bowl cut, is Moe. And the guy with the curly hair is, of course, Larry. And then there's the Stooge that nobody really likes. That's Shemp. He's the fourth Stooge. Shemp was only on screen with all three of the others once, but he actually took the place of Curly a lot of times because Curly had heart issues. He was a big guy. He didn't really watch his health very well. So we're going to start getting into the story now. So my students pulled up to the mall, which, by the way, is up on the Canadian border, pulled up in a big yellow school bus, and we went right to the center of the mall. The center courtyard of the mall is where the manager of the mall has his office. And, of course, the manager of the mall, just like the manager of the Stooges, is Moe. And guess what? Moe stands for moles. Moe's going to go give us a tour of the shopping mall. And so as we go along, I want you guys to, again, label and draw the different parts of the mall. So the first hallway we go down is the upper right hallway here. And so we're walking down the hallway. We see all our favorite stores. Build-A-Bear Workshop's one of my favorites. And there's those annoying kiosks in the middle of the hallway. You know, the ones where they hawk cell phone cases at you and giant slippers. And so one of the kiosks in the middle of the hallway, we find Shemp. And Shemp is running an avocado stand. So Shemp's avocado stands in the middle hallway. Moe goes up to Shemp, says, "Shemp, you working hard?" Shemp's like, yeah, boss, I'm working hard. Moe says, "All right, hand over 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd avocados." And Moe goes, pop, 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 glug, 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 eats all 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd avocados. So guess what? There are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd avocados in a Moe. All right, and we get to the end of that hallway, and we run into the car parts store, and their slogan is "Parts is Parts." This is the big anchor at the end of the hallway. It's like AutoZone or like Pep Boys. You know, the Three Stooges are a little annoyed at Pep Boys because they have the same three black and white brothers. But the important thing is parts is parts. It doesn't matter what kind of part you want. You go to the car parts store and you get the part. So I asked for some windshield wiper fluid, and they gave me a hubcap. All right, that's a kind of part. Then I asked for spark plug, and guess what? I got a monkey wrench. It's the Stooges, after all. Parts is parts. They're not grammatically correct, nor are they going to sometimes give you the part you want, but all the parts are available at the car parts store. And so as we continue our tour, we're at the end of the mall, so we have to keep going back down. And so yet again, we go by Shemp's avocado stand. Moe has to eat 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd avocados. Guess he's really hungry. And there are yet again 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd avocados in a Moe. All right, we get back to the center courtyard and we continue our tour. We go up the upper left hallway. And in that hallway, we find Curly hiding behind a column because he's the mall security guard. And guess what? He's not supposed to be there. So Moe goes up to Curly and says, "You know you're not supposed to be here." Curly says, yeah, boss, I am. And Moe and Curly get in a massive fight. And so Moe throws a swing. Curly tries to hit back. Moe hits his head. And Curly goes, woo, 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 and runs away. And we find out why Curly's hanging out there after we get into the, again, Moe Curly massive fight, which sounds a lot like Molecular Mass. We get to the end, and sure enough, it's the food court. It's kind of like Italy, but Stooges version. It's and their slogan is "Consume mass quantities." Kind of like a big candy store where you weigh the bags of candy, and that's how you get charged. You just weigh yourself on the scale on the in and the out, and whatever weight difference you got, that's how much you're going to get charged. So we game the system on our field trip. We eat as much as we can, and we kind of let some stuff out of our pockets so we don't get charged as much. All right, and so yet again, when we go down the hallway back into the mall after our lunch, we get into another Moe Curly massive fight because Curly's just hanging out in the hallway outside the food court, just looking for whatever scraps he can get. After we return to the center courtyard, we go down to the last hallway, the lower left hallway. and we start hearing some music. And we get a little closer, and all of a sudden, sonic boom, and Mo gets knocked down by the sonic boom 22.4 liters away from the end of the hallway. I know it doesn't make sense. It's the Stooges. Just go with it. We get to the end of the hallway, and we find out why there was a sonic boom. It's the record store, and their slogan is "Pump up the volume." And so that kind of explains the sonic boom. So we go rock out some tunes. We find out what's going on, and we all leave because we're just going to buy it online. And so yet again, we go down the hallway back to the center of the courtyard for Mo's office. And yet again, this big sonic boom comes down the hallway, and Mo gets knocked down again in the same exact spot, 22.4 liters away from the end of the hallway. And we get back, and of course, we're like, where's Larry? Our favorite Stooge. Like, seriously, this is the most anticlimactic story ever, because where's Larry? Well, Larry, the most incompetent of the Stooges, and that's really saying something, is working on a fourth hallway to be built at the lower right-hand corner of the mall, but it's not going to be open till the end of the year. It's called the Mo-Larity hallway, or Mo-Larry. All right, so the point of this whole story is moles is the central unit of chemistry. Mo was the one who led us through the mall. Everything's based around the idea of one Mo, and he's going to lead us through all the calculations. And if in doubt, mole it out. Because if moles is the central unit of chemistry, we're always going to go through moles whenever we use any other unit in chemistry, whether a chemistry unit of count or volume or mass, or in the future, liters of solution. All right, this is the chemistry interpretation of the mole. So you can see that the upper mixing up my directions. The upper right hallway up here is the hallway to particles, because the car part store, parts is parts, means whatever kind of particle you want, whether it's atoms or molecules or formula units or anything, you can use Avogadro's number. You can use avocados on the way to it. The upper left hallway, again, my directions I'm doing correctly, is grams, because consumed mass quantities, anytime we want to weigh something, we go up this hallway and we go by the Mo-Curly massified molecular mass or molar mass. And finally, if we're going down to pump up the volume, the record store, we're going to go by that 22.4 liters number, because that's the volume of 1 mole of gas at STP conditions. STP stands for standard temperature and pressure. It's just kind of the conditions out laboratory outside in the winter. All right, so we're going to go through some examples of how to use this in chemistry calculations. The blue text at the bottom shows a kind of problem that we could have in chemistry. How many moles are in 36 grams of water? And the important thing is we're going to use this mole map, this picture of Mo's mole, to lead us through the problem. And so just like any dimensional analysis problem we ever do, we're going to underline our starting amount, 36 grams. We're going to underline the unit we want at the end, moles. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look for those units up on the mole map. And sure enough, moles and grams are here. So Mo is the center courtyard. Consumed mass quantities, the food court is grams. And between the two, this is the most important part, is molar mass. And so that's the only number we're going to use to solve if we're getting between grams and moles. We're not going to use Avogadro's number. We're not going to use 22.4 liters, which is the molar volume. Let's do another problem. So in this one, what's the mass of 2.5 times 10 to the 23rd molecules of water? Another great mole problem in chemistry. Well, this time we have our starting amount, 2.5 times 10 to the 23 molecules, and we have our mass. All right, I want to point out to you, molecules and moles are very different things, but a molecule is a kind of particle, right? So why don't you find what the path is on the mole now? Take a sec to find that. All right, sure enough, we're going to be going between particles and grams this time, because grams is unit for mass and molecules is a kind of particle. And so therefore, we're going to be using Avogadro's number, and then we're going to be using the molar mass. I do want to point out that when you do this in dimensional analysis, you might have to flip either of these fractions to make the units work out. And we know that we can flip those fractions because mathematically, if the numerator is equal to the denominator, it's equal to number 1, and we can flip the fraction. We're not going to change the 1 just by taking the reciprocal of it. Here's another problem. What's the number of moles in 50 liters of O2 gas at STP conditions? Again, STP just means that we can use that 22.4 liter number. So this time you're going to start with moles. You're going to end with moles. You're going to start with 50 liters of gas. And in the mole, that would be from liters to moles. And all you would have to use is 22.4 liters as your conversion factor. And this time, yes, it would actually be set up that way for the fraction. When you multiply the 50 liters times 1 mole over 22.4 liters, you're going to get your answer. Last problem. Right. Starting amount is in molecules, which is a kind of particle. The end is going to be the volume, so we're going to be going from particles to liters, and that means we're going to use Avogadro's number and the 22.4 number. All right, so the purpose of this video was to introduce you to the story of Mohs mole as a tool to solve mole problems in stoichiometry and chemistry.